Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
Not good, not exciting, not entertaining, pretty embarrassing, to be honest with you. How do you tie the Cincinnati Bengals? And how do you go out there in overtime and punt the ball to tie? That's a disgrace. Coming from Doug Pederson, the man who is known to be aggressive. He doesn't have the balls to go for it. On top of that, you had 3rd and 19 earlier, and you try and throw a ball to Miles Sanders deep on a wheel route instead of trying to pick up the 9 yards. The philosophy doesn't make sense. So you'll go for it on that 3rd and 19 to Miles Sanders there, but you won't try and win the football game. Like, the mentality of Doug Pederson blew my mind. Carson Wentz was horrendous. The offensive line, Jason Peters, pathetic. Nate Herbig, big holding. Matt Pryor, can't happen. Fireable offense. Defense did not come up big when they needed to. So we can continue to go down the road here and look at so many damn issues with this team. And that's why you see an 0-2-1 squad. It's not just Carson Wentz. It's not just him missing throws. There's so many flaws. Let me say that again. There are so many flaws with this football team. Carson deserves a lot of hate. Okay, he does. He deserves a lot. He was awful. But so was so many pieces. How do you win football games? The team looks unprepared, not focused, and not coached well. And that's a problem. Now, we are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BROD at manscaped.com. All right, so where do we begin? Do you want to start with the injuries? Okay, injuries happened. Dallas Goedert out, and it looks like it's going to be for some time. Deshaun Jackson, hamstring, he was out. Jason Peters left at the end of the football game. You could put a cone in left tackle and he'd probably be better than Jason Peters anyway. Jason Peters, you should look in the mirror and spit right in your face in the mirror. For you, the audacity to demand more money. You actually held this organization hostage and then played like that against a bad defensive line? That's not Aaron Donald. That's not Chase Young. That's not other players who dominate the NFL. There's no one on that Bengals squad that should be able to wax through this offensive line the way that they did. And Jason Peters was constantly getting torched. And shame on him for seriously walking into that office and looking at Howie Roseman, Doug Peterson, Jeffrey Lurie in the eyes and said, I demand more money if I'm going to be playing left tackle. Dude, you sucked. And you were awful in game 1. Screw you with that performance. Seriously. That pisses me off. If you're going to do what you did, then back it the hell up. But you can't play that way. Avonte Maddox got hurt after he got burnt by Boyd. And on that drive, it was Boyd, just chugging along down the field. Now, I said the defense didn't step up at times. The defensive line, they got pressured. They did their job. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Barnett, Sweat. They did their job from the pressure standpoint. But how about when it was, 3rd and 15, and here goes a 40-yard run? How about what I just mentioned? Boyd. Okay, it wasn't pretty out of the D as a whole. How about that play by Joe Burrow on, was the second? I forget exactly what down it was. Regardless, it doesn't really matter. TJ Edwards got spun around, and here's Joe Burrow making plays by the sideline and ends up making a throw, but because out of bounds and came back in, they ended up calling the play back. So, just an embarrassment from that standpoint. If I see Jalen Mills one more time flex his damn muscles, okay, do a finger wave or whatever the hell he wants to do, this team sucks. I mean, the team just sucks. You don't have the right to go out there and flex your muscles, to celebrate. What are you celebrating? You just tied the Cincinnati Bengals, and if this wasn't the Bengals, you would have lost. The only reason why this was even a tie is because you were up against the Bengals, who also suck. 0-2-1. And Doug Pederson going for the old, hey, let's tie. And you know what? There's going to be people who try and justify this because of what happened in the past with Donovan McNabb and Andy Reid, and look how genius it was because this division is bad. Like, think about the situation. All right, so first off, the fireable offense by Matt Pryor. I mean, it just can't happen. No wonder why he didn't play earlier in the season. That cannot happen. He would be benched for the rest of the damn season. The problem is, you really don't have many alternatives. But when it gets to 64 yards with barely any clock left, you take a damn shot. What that told me is Doug Pederson doesn't have any belief in this team stopping Joe Burrow from where they would get the ball on the field with barely any time left on the clock, which is a problem, by the way, if you didn't trust your squad at that point. That's telling you that you don't have enough. That's telling you that your team is abysmal if you think Joe Burrow and those weapons were going to be able to torture in that short amount of time and no timeouts. So come on. It's incredible. Now let's get to not Doug Pederson. I'm sorry. I'm trying to wrap my damn head around all this. Carson Wentz. Trash. Now, he had a couple moments where he was running around from the pocket and he made some runs happen. He extended the play. There were a couple moments here and there where I thought, okay, Carson, battling third down, putting his shoulder down, putting his head down, getting the first down. That last drive with 3:05 to go, the score was 23-16. A couple pass interference calls on Hightower. Well, Hightower was the wide receiver that forced the Bengals to have some pass interference call. Then Hightower actually caught the ball. Carson Wentz threw the ball right into Dunlap's hands as he jumps up, but he hit Ward. He did have that nice play to Zach Ertz over the shoulder. That was a nice one. Like, there were some moments where you thought, all right, Carson. He ends up running it into the end zone. But that doesn't outweigh the issues. The first interception, by the way, was Logan Wilson, a linebacker that could probably be utilized on this roster if I had to bet some money on it. There was no one really there. That was a poor throw by Carson Wentz. There were 3 defenders in the mix. I don't really know what he saw there to begin with to try and even throw that football at all. So, bad interception. And then the second one, I mean, dude, you're going to try and throw a ball to Zach Ertz on the back shoulder, yet you throw it on the inside part of the field. That is an embarrassing throw. That's an unacceptable throw. I can't accept that whatsoever. You're in year 5. Year 5. Quarterbacks make the throw when you're putting it on the back shoulder. And this is Zach Ertz. This is the target that you can rely on. This is one of your guys. Now, when you look around the field at the weapon perspective here, you were limited, without a doubt. You lose Goddard, you lose Deshaun, you are limited as hell. But it's still no excuse. It's an issue, okay? It definitely hurts this football team. It makes it tougher for Carson. It makes it tougher for Doug Pederson. It makes it tougher as a whole, especially when your offensive line is continuing to get beat. But it's still not an excuse to throw that pass. Now, the one where my heart went into my stomach completely was the 3rd and 10 to Miles Sanders down the sideline. Overthrew Miles Sanders. That one, and he goes to the sideline afterwards. He takes his time. He chucks it down at the ground. That one, I lost it. I lost it. Come on, dude. Like, you have to make that throw. You have to complete that pass. That is a big pass. That's the difference. That's the difference. What is going on in his head? The reads, not good enough. Going through the progressions, a little too slow. Missing some options. How about in the red zone? Who was it? Deshaun Jackson? Wide open. And instead, he takes it for a couple yards. Would have been a touchdown. I'm a Carson Wentz guy. I am. And I always have been. But this just can't happen. Now, I also don't think it's as easy as betcha. No, I don't think it's that easy. That's Madden 20 or Madden 21, whatever year they're on. That's easy to say from a fan's perspective, but that's not how franchises operate, where you just start benching your franchise quarterback when things go wrong. Like, Carson Wentz is definitely something that needs to be looked at, and I'm not saying the leash is long, because the leash is not long right now. But I also don't think it's as easy as get rid of him. Even if the philosophy from this franchise was, hey, we got to get rid of Carson Wentz, so let's draft Jalen Hurts. Even if that was the mindset, it's not easy to do when you look at the contract. Then you go back to the contract conversation and go, well, if that was your philosophy, then shame on you, because you did one of the worst jobs ever giving him this hefty payday, even though you can get out of it at 2022. Look at that guaranteed money. You're still doomed. So from that mentality, I still can't support them. Even if they did go out and get a guy they believed in, they screwed up when it came to the salary cap, and the salary cap is a monster problem heading into next season. That 3rd and 10, though, going back to that Miles Sanders play down the left sideline, that killed me. I literally fell off my couch in that moment because I couldn't believe it. That's the play that really made me go, holy shit! Holy shit! How? But he's not the only one to blame. Doug Pederson, early in the game, establishing Miles Sanders, right? Miles Sanders. This is great. Followed up by a couple 3-and-outs. Hold on a second, Doug. How many touches did Miles Sanders have throughout those 3-and-outs? Oh, none? Oh, that's right. You abandoned the run. How do you do that? Going into this matchup, you saw that you could run the football on this Bengals team. You witnessed other squads do it. You watched other opponents in this league run through that defense. Yet you had success with it early, and then you go away from it. And with Doug Pederson, there were so many 3rd down calls that blew my damn mind. Just terrible 3rd down play calls. All right, there was a 3rd and 8. Couldn't believe what I was seeing. A 3rd and 9 to Ertz over towards the sideline that wasn't even close to anything. It wasn't even close to producing any sort of positive yards in that play. There was a 3rd and 12 to Greg Ward. What were you thinking of picking up on that one? You thought Greg Ward was just going to run for 30 damn yards? I couldn't even see the logic behind it. And then the 3rd and 19 to Miles Sanders late in the game. And that blew my mind, because you could have picked up, 9 yards or so and been closer to field goal territory? Why go for it then? And then it brings it back all the way to the final decision of punting the ball. And I get why people are going to say, really? Is that the big concern, punting the ball? No. In a grand scheme of things, when you take a few steps back and you look at this team from a distance, was that the big issue in this one? No. Every single part of this team was the issue. Head coach, defense, Carson Wentz, injuries, lack of weapons, getting separation. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, he doesn't deserve to play ever again. He doesn't deserve to play. Now, pregame, you saw videos of John Clark of NBC Sports Philadelphia, and it was J.J. Arcega-Whiteside talking to some people and going back into the tunnel, going back into the locker room during warm-ups, and they were questioning and speculating, is something wrong? And then he was limited in the game. He sucks! He's a bad football player, and Greg Ward deserves so many more snaps. When's Elshon coming back? Because they really need a possession receiver, because J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is a horrendous football player who doesn't deserve to be in the National Football League. John Hightower deserves more snaps than him. Everyone deserves more snaps than him. I would take Jason Peters at wide receiver over J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. So going back to why I even brought J.J. Arcega-Whiteside up is everyone was a problem. Everyone. The whole damn team. The Cincinnati Bengals. They are not good. Joe Burrow, he was making plays happen out there, even though he was getting creamed all over the place too. Now, there is one thing that I want to point out, and it was during the post-game show Seth Joyner, I like some of his takes, and some of his takes are so old school. He's a get-off-my-lawn guy when it comes to football. And, he's screaming like, you look at Joe Burrow, he looked like the 5-year veteran, while Carson Wentz looked like the rookie. And I'm thinking, all right, well, how about Carson Wentz in his second year? Like, you can go through. My point is, I want to see Joe Burrow in 5 years, and I bet you there'll be a year in there where he struggles, and it's a couple games in, and he doesn't look like the player that you expect him to look like at some point. Carson Wentz in his second year, MVP, MVP, MVP. Now it's, okay, what the hell is he? You look at Joe Burrow in 3 games. Like, it's crazy to me. That's all. 5 years of Joe Burrow, I promise you, he's not going to look like a 5-year veteran the whole 5 years. There's going to be a window when he can rip them apart for playing some bad football, just like Carson Wentz is playing bad football now. Another game with 2 interceptions, although at the end of last game, I thought it was very fluky, and it was a flawed second interception that they weren't going to really do much with at that time based off the scenario of the game and the situation the game was at that time. Now, I am going to say there is a positive of today, and it's I won a ton of money. And do you know why I won a ton of money? Well, because I utilized BetQL's analytics, data, trends that they have on their app. Not only their app at BetQL.com, and you can get 20% off your first payment with the promo code BRODES20 at BetQL.com. Look, they give you all the information you need when it comes to sports betting. All of the sharp money, man. It's all about the sharp money. You get to see where the professional bettors are putting their money in. And at this point, I just follow it. And I continue to cash in left and right. So very disappointing that the Eagles lost. But hey, I won a lot of green thanks to BetQL. So make sure you check them out. Their information's in the description. We're also doing NFL Weekly Pick'em Pools presented by BetQL, weekly giveaways, and a grand prize courtesy of Rosnov Jewelers, a championship bracelet. Once again, all the information is down below in the description. Oh, man, the third down play is brutal. Carson Wentz's press conference. Now there's some speculation that he's in denial, and he doesn't even see what the problems are. He doesn't feel that there's an issue, and I think that's a load of crap. I really do. When you look at press conferences, you got to take them for what it is at times. Would you like Carson Wentz to go up there and say, like, we sucked, we need to play better, that was pathetic, that was embarrassing? Okay, cool. Do you want him to go out there and say that? All right, I won't be mad if that was his answers. But that's not who Carson Wentz is. So he gives you player speak. That's the kind of guy he is. You know what guys say what to the media? There's guys that are more open. There's guys that are more closed, and they give you the cliche answers. Carson Wentz is a cliche answer guy. I need to be better. I look at my teammates, and I thought we had a chance to win this game. I need to be better. I trust in my head coach, whatever. That doesn't mean he's in denial. You're 0-2-1. So to me, the way I see it is, he's just giving you player speak. He doesn't walk away from that game and go, you know what? That was a good game. If he does feel that way, then yes, we have the wrong quarterback. But I truly don't believe that that's how he feels. I think he's a professional athlete that understands how the media constantly drills players, and he's going to go down the road of giving you the simple answer that is just cliche as hell. That's how I see it, at least. Incredible, though. 0-2-1. Leave it to the Philadelphia Eagles to have a tie this early in. And I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about the NFC East and, hey, since the Cowboys are bad and they're struggling, they still have a chance. This team is not a playoff football team. The secondary, not good. The defense is just not good. You had pressure in this game. That offensive line is abysmal. I want to see Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett, Josh Sweat. I want to see them have a game against a productive offensive line. This is equivalent to last season when the defensive line had a ton of sacks and they were bringing a lot of pressure. Well, guess what? They were playing a team that did not even know how to operate whatsoever. They played an offensive line that was clueless. So I didn't really value last year's Jets game when they had a ton of sacks. It's the same thing here. I don't really value this from the defensive line. There was like one set of play calls from Jim Schwartz that stood out to me. It was when Malik Jackson just destroyed Joe Burrow, which I thought was a clean hit, to be fair. It was hard. It was definitely a brutal hit, but it wasn't a dirty hit. He didn't lean with his head. He didn't hit his head. He just rocked him. A good old-fashioned clocking. But then after that, you brought the blitz. You got into his face after he came back because he had to come out and play and come back. And then Jim Schwartz dropped back into coverage and confused him a bit. It confused Joe Burrow. So there was a set or so where I was like, all right, Jim Schwartz. But seriously, think about it right now. I'm trying to be satisfied with a couple set of play calls out of Jim Schwartz. You needed the big stop, 3rd and 15, 40-yard run. Boyd. Vontae Maddox out. At one point, Trevor Williams and Roby Coleman were your corners because Darius Slay left as well. Luckily, he came back. But Jalen Mills, I can't stand right now. Yeah, you went with Cravon LeBlanc. What does that tell you about Roby Coleman, who got abused early in the season to this point in the first couple of games? You had to go with LeBlanc. Not that LeBlanc is terrible, but I was told that Roby Coleman was a steal of the free agency class here. It was a steal of a signing. Lack of size hurts him. Figured that would happen at some point, right? Whew. Where do we go from here? Heading into a brutal stretch of games. Brutal! 49ers, although they're banged up. Steelers, Ravens. Can I really look at a 3-game window, though? Come on. How could I look at a 3-game window at the moment? Let's just take it one game at a time. They just tied the Cincinnati Bengals, and your head coach played for it. That's the worst part. That's the part that drives me crazy. He was like, okay, I'll take a tie here. Doug Pederson, Mr. Aggressive guy. The guy who'll go for it on 4th. The guy who goes for 2 for no reason. All this stuff. Mr. Aggressive. Big balls Doug. He's going to punt it away with barely any time left on the clock and go, I'll punt. I'll take the tie. That's a horrendous message to your football team. How do you walk into the locker room after that and look at everybody in the face afterwards and go, you know what, guys? I didn't really care about the win. I'd be satisfied with the tie. How do you do that? One of Doug's greatest traits is being a guy that everyone looks up to, and when things go south, it's okay. When things go wrong, he still manages to keep everybody together. And we will see if that is true. We will see if that is the case this season. Like, I'm not willing to give up on Doug Pederson, but I see that there are some flaws with his play calling, with his play design. And I will say, when you are out there with Burnett, and when Goddard leaves, and Deshaun Jackson leaves, and you have Greg Ward, and you have Zach Ertz, and a lot of guys can't get separation, it's tough. It's hard. It's not easy to come up with these plays for these individuals when your top guys aren't in there. So I do understand that, but it is also your job, same with the quarterback. It's on the head coach and the quarterback. It is your job at that point to find a way. Find a way to help your football team. And I don't know if Doug Pederson really put this team in a great position to succeed. That's not saying that Carson Wentz was good. I can't stand that it's either one or the other. It's not one or the other. To me, I look at this game like not yelling at Doug Pederson is giving him a free pass. Giving him a free pass is unacceptable. I'm not giving anyone a free pass. No one gets a free pass. Jason Peters, you should be ashamed of yourself. Matt Pryor, come on. That is a play that should kick you out of the league forever. Nate Herbig, the holding. Carson Wentz made a play, and then the holding brings everything back. You have to be disciplined late in a football game when it comes down to the wire in those situations. It's frustrating. It was a waste of time. A big, fat waste of my time. Sunday afternoon. Then he had to sit through extra time and go through Twitter and see all the Donovan McNabb comparisons and see all the images and the visuals from when he said he had no clue what a tie was and all that nonsense. Oh, man. Wow. Now, the 24/7 Anytime hotline was blowing up. And it still is consistently blowing up. The phone number is 856-442-9805. Tomorrow, on the Morning After podcast, the Monday Overreaction podcast, although you can argue we're not going to be overreacting, we're just going to be reacting, and that is the way that it should go down. That is the way that we deserve to show our frustration. I will have the Morning After podcast where I will react to all of your phone calls that you leave me tonight, so make sure you call in. It's flooded at the moment, and I can't wait to get a listen tomorrow and react to all the calls. So many issues. And the problem is when things happen like this, when it gets to this degree, now you start looking and you keep going and you keep going higher. All right, well, why are they in this position? Well, a linebacker that you could have drafted who was being discussed at the time has a big interception on Carson Wentz while your linebackers are getting picked apart left and right. But hey, Jalen Hurts came in for a couple plays and had an 8-yard run. Hey, Jalen Hurts had a fumble as well. You want to yell at Carson Wentz and his issues fumbling the football? Well, Jalen Hurts steps in and who's running option billions of times and he fumbled the damn ball. Like, it's hard for me. You want to rip Howie, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Derek Barnett, and you don't know what Andre Dillard is, Sidney Jones, Rasul Douglas, the list goes on and on and on. And you want to rip Carson Wentz? But you want to give Howie Roseman credit for Jalen Hurts, and you think Jalen Hurts is just going to step in and light the world on fire. Well, if you're going to rip Howie for all of his moves, how then can you justify Jalen Hurts and say he's the guy? Because that would mean at that point that Carson Wentz wasn't the guy either, and that's another miss to add to the list of misses from Howie Roseman. The J.J. Arcega-Whiteside thing, though, that murders this team. Because if J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was a pick that was actually someone good, then you don't waste a pick in the first round on a wide receiver and you can go out and get another piece. And then that piece helps the team. And then, there's a big domino effect on who you have to draft in later picks based off of messing up just J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. And that's just one. I mean, we can go down the list and do that for a bunch of picks. And I know you don't hit on everyone. I'm not saying you need to have a 100% draft success rate because that's not reality. But it needs to be better than what it is or else you're just going to be average to below average in this league. And that's clearly unacceptable for this organization. Now, this episode is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power, and with over 20 years of experience in the industry, they are home to your solar experts in both residential and commercial projects. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely by offering flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. In addition, they make sure you receive all the state and federal incentives available for switching to solar. Their information is down below. And speaking of, missing out on a wide receiver, of course, the first name that comes to mind is DK Metcalf, and if you saw, he had that big play, and he thinks he's in the end zone. He's about 1 or 2 yards shy, and here comes the Dallas Cowboys, pokes it out of his hand, and it goes back towards the end zone. Ooh, bad look for DK Metcalf, but just the fact that there's a guy who can fly, track the football, make plays, that would be nice. But then you can say, look, if he was in this offense, there would be probably half of the production that Seattle gets out of him. One, because of Russell Wilson, and two, because I don't like Doug Peterson's offense. I think it is stale. Now, once again, it's hard to not be stale when you're throwing a bunch of just guys at this point. Burnett, right, on the fly. Hightower. I'm intrigued by Hightower, but not enough to say, like, hey, man, this guy's just going to step in where he is right now in his career and be this big-time player for the Eagles. Someone who deserves way more playing time is Greg Ward. And last year, you know what? At the end of the year, I'm like, everyone's getting too high on Greg Ward. It was a nice story. It was a fun story. Practice squad guy. But no, I was wrong. He actually earned a legit spot, and he should be playing way more. Clearly, Carson Wentz believes in him. Clearly, Carson Wentz thinks this guy can catch the football because he can. He actually can. It's hard to get separation out of a lot of these guys, and Greg Ward definitely isn't the fastest in the world, but he makes himself available for Carson, and hey, look, he had the nice touchdown to help out this team when needed. That was big. That was big. Right before the half to be able to get on the scoreboard again, that was something that this team really needed, and it was a spark plug, but clearly the spark plug ran out, the fuse went out, and this team is now 0-2-1. Doesn't even feel right coming out of my mouth. I will say, if there's a positive, it's conversational. The conversation's not going anywhere. We're going to have stuff to talk about. That's for damn sure. There's your positive. You're going to have stuff to talk about. It is wild, though, because the Phillies' miserable ending, that was painful. The Sixers, painful. The Flyers, look, they had a fun ride. It was fun. They were younger. They got faster. They did come up a little short in terms of, entertainment value, but they did make it to Game 7 in the second round. That gets put on another level from these three teams, the Eagles, the Phillies, and the Sixers. Right now, it is a miserable time in this city. It is a crushing time. I have a headache thinking about these teams. Flyers, I know it wasn't fun because they weren't scoring goals late in the playoff series, but we're talking about Game 7 in the second round, one game away from the Eastern Conference Finals. That doesn't compare to 0-2-1 and tying the Bengals. That doesn't compare to getting swept by the Celtics, and that doesn't compare to going down a September slump where you needed everything. What you needed to happen on Sunday to get into the postseason, you had it all happen, except the Phillies needed to win. That's all they needed to do was win, and Aaron Nola failed miserably. So with those three teams right now, it is just a whole nother level of concerning. And you got to question, what is the future of these teams? And specifically, keeping it targeted on the Eagles right now. Where do they go from here? There's so many damn questions, and that's the concerning part. Thank you all so much for listening. Remember, tomorrow, be aware and be ready for the morning after podcast where your phone calls will be implemented. Thank you all so much, and I will see you next time.